and welcome to the Joy Behar Show. I'm Judith Regan, sitting in for Joy. Tonight, we begin with Dr. Laura, who this week announced she'd be leaving her radio show at the end of the year. The result, perhaps, of using the N-word 11 times within 5 minutes on the air. Or as Dr. Laura herself put it, she's leaving because she wants to regain her First Amendment rights. Well, late last night, another outspoken woman came to her defense, Sarah Palin. She posted this on Twitter. Dr. Laura, don't retreat, reload. Steps aside because her First Amendment rights ceased to exist thanks to activists trying to silence isn't American, not fair. If you haven't heard what Dr. Laura said, here it is.
I didn't spew out the word. Right. I said that's what you hear.
Heard it.
Yes, they did.
I hope everybody heard it. So what
they did, and I'll say it again. What you hear on HB. Why don't you let me finish a sentence?
Okay.
So, is Palin right? Did Dr. Laura's First Amendment rights somehow disappear, or did Dr. Laura cross a line? With me now is Eric Mancow-Muller, radio host for the Mancow Radio Experience, Rachel Sklar, editor-at-large for Mediaite.com, and Stephanie Miller, host of The Stephanie Miller Show. So, Mancow, what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, Dr. Laura's a dear friend of mine. I love her. And I don't know, it almost seems like career suicide.
Why do you say that? Why would she want to be committing career suicide at this point?
Well, look, it's like a mistress you grow to hate, honestly. I do it 25 hours a week. I'm sure Stephanie feels the same way sometime, where you just go a little bit crazy sitting in that room. I don't know what person on radio today, what white person on radio today thinks they could say the N-word 11 times.
All right, so you think she went a little crazy. You think what she did was wrong? Mancow.
I don't know if she went out did she want out of a contract or what? I don't know.
But what do you think of what she did?
I think it's... Look, you're talking to me in Obama land, Judith, and the double standards here are ridiculous. There's a long list of words that we can't say on terrestrial radio. You know, and yet I have, Reverend Farrakhan artist and the rear-end Jesse Jackson and his son who tried to buy the Senate seat, Triple J, Jesse Jackson Jr., Reverend Wrong. All these guys love to race bait, and when anyone else says it, they're real offended. I have urban radio stations here in the city that, it's misogynistic, it's violent, it's vile, and you can't say anything because then you're racist. There is a double standard, but it is what it is, and I think she knew better.
So, Stephanie, do you think that Dr. Laura made a racist comment? Do you think what she did was racist?
I don't see how you can say that any other way. I mean, and please, Judith, quitting her multi-million-dollar-a-year job is losing her First Amendment right. Who's taking her First Amendment rights away from her?
Yeah, who? Who? Can you explain that to me?
Media matters, exactly.
Media matters.
Exactly.
All right.
And I love, by the way, that, is Sarah Palin telling someone else not to quit? I love that. But secondly, it's like, yeah, the Tea Party needs one more racist. That's what they really need. Like, if for the people that sign with the president with a bone through his nose was too subtle, they need someone that'll shout the N-word at rallies. That's what they need.
All right. So Dr. Laura says her First Amendment rights were taken away. By whom, where are they, and what is she talking about?
Well, I think I'd reverse the order of that and just start with what is she talking about? It's exactly as Stephanie said. She does not have a First Amendment right to have a wildly popular radio show. She has a First Amendment right to speak whatever, her mind is and not have those rights trampled on by the government. That's obviously not what's happening in this case. I think that Dr. Laura and also Sarah Palin are a little confused about what the Constitution says.
What does the Constitution say?
Well, the Constitution...
a lot of people don't really understand what it means to have a First Amendment right. They don't even know what the definition is. So can you explain that?
Well, it is the right, basically, within reason. I'm not going to get into, the complex body of case law that might veer into hate speech and stuff like that. But it's basically the right to have freedom of expression that is not abridged by the government. So it would have to be the government and some government body that was abridging the free speech. Here, that's not happening.
All right, let's listen to what Dr. Laura said when she announced that she's leaving radio.
I'm here to say that my contract is up for my radio show at the end of the year, and I've made the decision not to do radio anymore. The reason is I want to regain my First Amendment rights.
So, Mancow, what do you think? She's not going to do radio anymore. She wants to regain her First Amendment rights. What do you think of what she just said?
I have no idea, and I want to say something. Look, she's a personal friend of mine. She is not a racist. I think she was trying to illustrate a point. There is a double standard. If you speak out against the mosque, well, Nancy Pelosi says we ought to investigate the 9/11 families. This is a crazy time. Look, I was on the radio bashing Bushy. I was bashing Bushy, and I was never called a racist. But if you say anything about this president, everything's racism now. I thought we were going to get past this in post-racial America.
But
certainly anyone on the radio knows. Anyone on the radio knows you don't say that word. I understand it.
All right, Rachel.
Well, I mean, forgive me, but I think that this issue existed before we were in quote-unquote Obama land. I'm not one of those people who has a crazy mistress that drives me nuts. But I think that the gist of not only the use of that word, but the entire conversation that Dr. Laura had with that caller was incredibly dismissive. She interrupted her.
But she's always dismissive. Dr. Laura's demeanor is to be dismissive.
Sure, absolutely. But
Judith,
in the context of the use of that word, yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. That's how
she's condescending, she's snippy, and she's dismissive.
Judith,
that's her demeanor. Stephanie, go ahead.
Judith, this is my new dream. Can I just tell you, Rachel's right about the caller. My dream is the African-American caller gets a radio show. Because if you think about it, she was actually kind of a better therapist. Yeah, she was kind of a better therapist than Dr. Laura. She was like, yeah, okay, calm down. Yeah, you're not black. Okay, I need you to breathe. Yeah, you're not black. Okay, would you like to show me on the doll where the black person touched you? She was a much better therapist.
All right, Stephanie, listen. Dr. Laura, in her rant, says the following. Hypersensitivity is being bred by black activists. What do you say to that?
What?
It's true.
You know, what did she say to the woman? Don't NAACP me?
Right.
Well, don't KKK me if you don't want me to NAACP me.
All right, Mancow.
Who's not going to be offended when...
Come live in blah blah land and see how Jesse Jackson, where is his church? How does he make a living? These people are extortionists. They race bait Reverend Wright with his hate talk.
Whoa. These people?
They say whatever they want. They say whatever they want, and if you question them, you're racist. My hairy, white, pimply butt, guys. Dr. Laura's not a racist. She was illustrating with the extreme. Stephanie, that's what you do. That's what good talk radio does. If I say the word dummy, I get a complaint letter from ventriloquists. The word retarded is off limits. Midget offends people. You have to say people of small stature.
Okay,
land of the free, land of the free, land of the free. Maybe you believe the brainwashing. I don't believe the brainwashing anymore. Land of the free. I can say something, but you can't.
I'm sort of embrace your freedom of expression.
Hold on, Rachel, go ahead.
Are we free or not?
Are we free or not, Rachel?
Dr. Laura has different rights than Obama?
What?
I heard his book on tape.
Wow. I mean, there's so much going on here. I'm just going to cut through it and return to the question of hypersensitivity.
Truth.
Here's an example of someone not letting me speak.
I know you're excited to be on my show.
Complain about my First Amendment's right being trampled because I don't have the right to speak in a vacuum with Mancow not shouting over me. But I'm just going to bring it back to the issue of hypersensitivity and who the they are that is saying that the hypersensitive are rising up and complaining about everything. I mean, I think this would be a pretty good indication of how the dialogue has gotten pretty off track.
All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Thank you, guys.
You don't think it's offensive?
Mancow, Stephanie, Rachel, we're going to have to go. Thank you. Former WWE CEO and current Senate candidate Linda McMahon is up next. Stick around.